All right. We are back again with the, uh-oh, someone's giving me a call. So we're back again with another Keesha interviews with Keesha Carter. This is another Survivor Story series, a part of the series Survivor Stories. And I have another special guest for you all. This is one of the things that you all have been waiting on. I know we've gotten so many likes on the video that we've been sharing on our social media platforms about our special guest. I'm super excited. I am Keesha Carter. I'm the CEO and founder of Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom. Some of you may know me as Keesha La Luz, the Light Carter. And it is such an honor and a privilege to be able to share with you some special people in my life. Or women that have made an impact in my life, some women that have powerful stories and they really want to share it with you. So that is why we have the Survivor Story series. And tonight we're going to go through my friend's story. But before we go there, I want to have you share, like, and share this post, share with your friends, share with your family. There might be someone that's going through a tough time, or maybe, you know, someone who is just diagnosed with cancer and they just want to hear from another survivor. It is so important that you connect, or that we stay connected, because it is empowering, encouraging, and it provides hope. So you never know whose life you're going to impact by sharing this beautiful woman's story that we're going to hear from tonight. Make sure you visit us on our website, SCAWINC.org. Like our page at Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom on Facebook and Instagram. We're also on Twitter. Guys, we want you to connect with us. We have so much in store for you in the 2021 new year. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to share with you. So without further ado, tonight's special guest is a 43-year-old ovarian cancer survivor. She's been married for 19 years, y'all. I gotta get some advice from her. And she's been married to her lovely husband, Kyle. She grew up in Michigan. Yes, Michigan. And she happened to move to Florida, where she got married to her husband. She is a computer drafter and designer. She's worked for architectural and structural engineering companies, Home Depot and their flooring department. And this woman found out during the recession, is that correct? During the recession of 2008, that she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. So, oh my gosh, I cannot imagine what that was like, going through that. Our special guest, I'm going to introduce to some and present to others, Miss Karen Diaz. Karen, my gosh, we happened to meet at a Till Diva retreat. And the one that we met at was Polly's Island on the beach. So beautiful, lots of fun. And I got to hear her story back then. And oh my gosh, tell us, Karen, what happened? When were you diagnosed? How old were you?
It was like 5 days after my 38th birthday. So that was my official diagnosis, but I had a misdiagnosis by my gynecologist. I had gone in at the end of August for like my routine exam, and she said that, everything was fine and, regular routine checkup. And then at the end of October, the beginning of November, I started feeling discomfort. And I was at work and, got really tired, and I bloating and all the different signs. I had just been to the doctor, so there shouldn't have been anything wrong. She, no, everything is fine, and you're good. And then I was at work and I was doing, you know, the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. And I sat down for a few minutes to put some information in the computer. And it was like this intense, sharp, like stabbing pain in my right side when I sat down. And so like I had to call the supervisor and they called my husband. Hey, you need to come get her. She can't drive. And I went straight to the emergency room. The emergency room, they don't do anything. And they're like, oh, well, you know, you need to follow up with your doctor. So I called her and she did an exam. Oh, well, you have a cyst and we need to go in and fix it. So she went in when she opened the cyst and drained it. So she said it was like the size of a sausage, something maybe about 1.5 inches around, 6 to 8 inches long.
Wow.
And she's like, I was asking her about it. I'm like, oh, so is this just a normal one? You know, she's like, oh yeah, most, you know, this is common. People get ovarian cyst. And I was like, so there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a normal cyst. And she's like, oh yeah, I opened it and drained it and everything should be good now. She refused to check for cancer because ovarian cancer only happens in young teens or preteens or ladies that are over 70. It doesn't happen to women in their childbearing age. And you're slap dab in the middle. So you're just too young to have ovarian cancer. And I was like, but you didn't check it just to be safe. And she's like, oh no, there's no need for it. It's just a regular ovarian cyst that people get. And so I went home to Michigan for Christmas. We spent time up there and I had swelling and bloating and things. And she told me that was normal because they did the, what do you call it? Gosh, I can't think of the word of it. The internal surgery. So they didn't open me up. They did, not fiber optic, but, you know what I'm talking about?
It wasn't a hysterectomy.
No, but they put the tubes in and they fill you with gas and they take everything out. Like,
I can't think of what year. I can't think
they
of
didn't
it.
have to open. They didn't, you know, they did, with the cameras and stuff like that.
Like a laser?
Something along those lines. For the life of me, the words just, you know, darn chemo brain. The technical
so what happened?
term, so she was telling me, so they fill your belly with gas and stuff. And so I had called her about some complaints and she says, well, the pain's going to get worse before it gets better. And you just have to deal with it. Take some Motrin or some Advil and you'll be fine. Just wait it out. You'll be okay. And, you know, so I'm away up in Michigan and I wasn't going to be home for another week. And so I was still uncomfortable. And my birthday was on the 24th of January. And my parents came down from Michigan with me. We drove down and they wanted to take me to Disney for my birthday. So we went up there for the weekend and had fun, you know, and I'm still tired and not feeling good and couldn't eat anything. All the signs and symptoms that were there, but I didn't make the connection because it's not something that's public, you know, they don't, even just a few years ago, it's just not out there, all the signs and symptoms and things. And then I took
it's not written on the wall. It's not something like, you know, we talk about everywhere. Often. Yeah.
Well, like you see, you know, and that's the thing that kind of frustrates me because I had all the signs and symptoms. You see the breast cancer awareness stuff everywhere. Do this, and they're everywhere you go, they hand you, you know, materials about self-checking. But for us, in the gynecological area, they don't. And it's not out there. It's not on every wall or things, and it should be. You know, and especially with the doctor telling me you're fine. And I'm like, I'm not fine. And it was I had spent 3 days in tears and like I couldn't even I couldn't sleep and I couldn't lay down because the pressure was really bothering me. And I was just, I kind of would like lay my chest on my bed and, you know, lean down to let the weight, like not push on me and cause pain. And I called her up and I, you know, after we got home.
How did you sleep?
I didn't for like, there was like I didn't. I really was not sleeping at all. I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't lay on my side. It was just unbearable. There was just so much pressure. I finally called the doctor and, you know, told her, no, I'm coming in. You will see me today. So I go back into her office and she's like, oh, yeah, we need to send you over to the radiology center across the street and you need to get an exam. I could get a CT scan. Yeah. And I was in tears and in pain. And the radiology tech, she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, honey. But you've got a mess in there. And I can see why your doctor sent you. You know how they're not allowed to, as many tests as you've ever been through, that they are not allowed to say anything. But she was in tears telling me, I know there's something wrong. There's a mess in there. And she's in tears telling me, and I knew it. I knew something was wrong. She's, you have to wait in this little room off to the side. I have to call your doctor to see what she wants to do. And so like, I'm like, oh, there is something really wrong. And so I was sitting there by my phone. The doctor called. She's, you need to go to the hospital ASAP. I'm calling over there and I'm going to set it up for you. And, you know, they're going to direct admit you. So go home, take a shower, get all your belongings, and then go to the hospital. And so she met me there like the next morning. They didn't have any operating rooms available. So I think I had to wait like 2 or 3 days or something like that to get surgery. And yeah, I came out of surgery and everybody's like, I guess I didn't wake up right away. And the doctor sat with my family, my parents, my husband, and my aunt and uncle came. And she sat there for several hours just crying and telling them how sorry she was. She didn't say anything to me. She wasn't there when I woke up. But, you know, I woke up and they're like, oh, yeah, it's cancerous, but we removed it. And so they removed a 1.5 pound tumor. They did a ton of debulking and with my omentum and everything that they could like remove, they did. So I was, you know, and then she referred me to, you know, oh, this is the best doctor around. You want to go see my oncologist. And it took me like 6 weeks. You can't get in because you just had surgery. So you need 6 weeks to heal before they can do anything anyway. And that's how long it took me to get into his office. But by the time I got there, this tumor was so aggressive, it had started to grow back. But he didn't know that, of course. He just going by, hey, they removed the tumor, so you should be good and ready to start chemo. But so I started and I was like day 15 into the cycle and I had the same thing, pain, bloating. I couldn't go to the bathroom. I couldn't eat anything. It was just constant nausea and vomiting. So they're like, well, there's something wrong. We need to send you in for another CT scan. And the tumor had come back within that like 6 to 8 weeks, I think, roughly. It was 7.5 pounds. So he's like,
are you serious?
You have to go in for surgery. Yeah. Oh. He's like, you have to go in for surgery. We can't give you any more chemo. We can't give you any treatment because it's not, the tumor's just so huge and aggressive that it's not going to work on anything. So we have to go remove everything. Well, it was way more, I guess, like mixed up with everything in my system. It had wrapped itself around the my intestines and everything. So they did, you know, they had to remove half of my large intestine, 16 inches of my small intestine, the appendix. They did more debulking and all kinds of stuff. So the first round of chemo that I did didn't count. And so I had to do 3 additional chemos. The remaining 2 I did BEP, so bleomycin, etoposide, cisplatin. And he said that it was going to be, since it was so aggressive, he had to give me the max dosage that he could give. And he said it's going to be really rough. It's going to be, the side effects are going to be terrible. And it was. I think I lost 70 pounds in the first couple of months. Yeah, I didn't eat. The smell, the only thing I can compare, like the side effects, was from people telling me, you know, this is what it was like when I was, you know, into my second trimester of pregnancy. Like, you're so hungry for something, but you go to cook it, and the smell of it makes you nauseous. And that was exactly how I could explain it.
Yeah.
So the smell of something, you want to eat French fries, but you get that, and it's, you can smell the grease and it makes you nauseous. And
Right.
it would work for anything. I'd take one bite
It's like
of something.
hearing you talk about it, I'm having flashbacks of how I felt with chemo, because like I'm reliving that moment of me trying to eat something, hearing you talk about it.
And you know, it's so funny because everyone has, because the different medications give you different side effects. And it's just so crazy because a lot of ladies that have had the same treatment, the majority of the ladies here in my area are in their 70s or later stage of life. And so they can't take as strong of a medication, or it was a different version. It was a different type of tumor. So I had an immature teratoma.
So what stage and type of cancer were you diagnosed with?
So it would have been stage 4. So the first time, since she didn't check it, when we initially would like go back to like what it involved, it probably would have been somewhere in the like 2 or 2B, I think is what they would have, because it was in the ovary, it was in the fallopian tube. So I think it was only in three areas of the ovary. And I think they would have classified that like maybe like 2B, but since she never tested it for cancer, and by the time it came back, it was already spread everywhere. I had spots in my liver, in my lungs, in the abdomen.
Oh my gosh.
And since she already took she already did the hysterectomy, so it was just everywhere in my abdomen. Yeah, so it was just really crazy. They only really focused on the main tumor, and they didn't worry about the small ones until later on after I finished my chemo, because I guess sometimes those can shrink and or disappear. Mine didn't. They had to go back in after all of my chemos, and they had to take out 198 tumors.
Are you serious? Where were
so,
they? So where were the 198 tumors located?
Everywhere in my abdomen. Yeah, everywhere. And he said, initially he's like, I have no idea of how many tumors I took out, but I took a bucket full, and I will have to wait for pathology to come back to actually give you an accurate account of what we took out. And they removed 5 baseball-sized tumors from my liver. And so I had to see a liver specialist, liver oncologist, I guess. I don't remember he's got a special name, but I can't remember what his specialty is. Like it starts with like hepatic or something like that. I guess
I don't know the name of it.
Yeah. But he went in, and when I had my appointment with him, they thought they were going to have to take out 3/4 of my liver. And he goes, I can leave you with the minimum sized liver that you can survive with, because the amount of tumors that you have in your liver, that it looks like we're just going to have to remove and leave you with the minimum that you can survive with. Dang. And I was like, geez, okay. He goes, well, luckily enough, the liver is the only organ that will regenerate. So he's like, that's no problem. But he got in there, and apparently the tumors had changed from cancerous tumors to non-cancerous tumors. And my body had somewhat calcified the tumors in the liver. And he said he didn't really have to take away much of the liver at all. He kind of was able to scoop them out. He's like, I got this special tool, like an ice cream scooper. And was able to just kind of like scoop it out. I'm like, well, that's pretty fantastic. He goes, well, it's not really an ice cream scooper, but you get the point. It was like, okay.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Did you get pictures of it? Like, did they take?
I asked all of them. I asked the liver specialist. I asked my oncologist, because he said these they're mature teratomas. So they're so uncommon that they usually only see them either I guess, in medical school, like they'll have specimens that they can look at, or in the books, type thing. But they usually never get to see one live. They never get to hold it or touch it or anything.
Right.
And in my 40 years, he goes, I've only seen it in medical school. Oh, excuse me. And so they called like the whole tumor board and did this whole thing and had them in front of everybody showing them. And apparently they had like hair and teeth and other things in them. So I was like totally fascinated. And I was like, come on, give me some pictures. I want to see what this looks like.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't do it. Right. I mean, it was pretty fascinating, but
wow.
they wouldn't do it.
So you're completely cancer free now?
I'm not, and I will not be able to say that I'm in remission or NED, no evidence of disease. So when they did that surgery,
how long ago? Let's give a
that was September 15. That was the last thing. Yeah, 2015. Yeah.
Wow.
So they when they went in, they only got, 198 was what they could get to. And so I still have some in my lungs. I still have one by my liver, and I have some in my abdomen that we just monitor them. Because it was so many aggressive and very involved surgeries that I went through in a short period of time. Right. And then when they did that, when they removed my intestines, they had to give me a colostomy bag. I had that for about 2 years. But I had so many issues with that. I have an allergy to adhesives. So that caused a whole nother situation, digestive issues and things like that with that. I mean, that was just horrendous, but I had to go through additional treatments to get my intestines because I had some terrible scar tissue at the surgical sites. So they had to do a balloon enlargement in those areas to get it to a normal size. I think 6 or 8 of them. That was kind of crazy, but I was able to get a reversal. So we monitor those situations, and we monitor the spots. So every time I go in for a CT scan, I do it every 6 months. So November and February. So we monitor everything.
So you get CT scans every 6 months?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have any additional medications like, some of the other people, the Keytruda or Gemzar or some of those other ones. They don't have me on any maintenance medication. We just do the scans and monitor those spots for changes. And if there was any changes, we would have to go in and do a biopsy or something like that. So
did you have a history of cancer in your family?
No.
Or do you, I should say, do you have
no
history of cancer?
No. So the only things that were in the so someone had skin cancer, and that was that's back in the day. They didn't use sunscreen, and they were laying out with baby oil on black towels. I mean, that was just what they did back in the day. So that was, and I think they were in their 20s when they had the skin cancer. My uncle golfed all the time with no sunscreen. He had skin cancer. He also had throat cancer from drinking, from smoking, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
I mean, and I had the like DNA test done of the tumor itself, and it came back as, well, we don't see any genetic issues to where we show that you are positive for any of the ones that we trace.
So did you
there
take the
was
BRCA testing?
Yeah, they did. There was the BRCA1 and 2 both came back negative, and so, and then they did one. There was, I think, 128 of them that they tested for, and they all came back fine, which is so strange. Yeah, they tested my blood and they tested the tumor itself. So they wanted to know in both aspects if it was me or the tumor, and they said they didn't find any anomalies in either, which is crazy. I was totally expecting something.
Wow. So you say your uncle had skin cancer. I mean, he had skin
and throat, and my
throat.
aunt had skin cancer. Yep.
Your aunt. And did your mother or father have?
No, nothing. Oh, my dad had prostate cancer.
Okay.
They caught that like super early. But yeah, that's my family side of anybody who had anything.
Wow. So did you all have conversations about cancer in your family?
Never. Nope, never. And it wasn't only until recently, after being diagnosed, that it was even a discussion.
Wow.
I guess back in the day, you just don't talk about it.
Right. That's how it was.
You go to the doctor, they do whatever it is, and you just move on with your life. You don't discuss it.
Yeah, we didn't really have a lot of conversations about cancer unless we had a family member that was diagnosed with it, but like it wasn't an in-depth conversation until I had cancer and I started asking questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the only one who talks about it openly. Like with you, you know, this is easy for me now because I try to speak about it to anybody who will listen. You know, and everyone that I know of at the hospital groups, I help out with the hospital foundation, or I help out at the cancer center that I got my treatment at. And anybody that will listen, and everybody that knows me, they're like, tell them your story. Tell them your story. They need to hear this. So it's
what got you comfortable with sharing your story? Because, you know, like, were you comfortable at first or over time?
So I have a little bit of stage fright when it is in front of people or a group. So even when they would ask me to tell my story, I'm like, oh, it's no big deal. It was just a little bit of this. So I guess I want to say maybe even downplay it to where I'm like, yeah, it's okay. It was just this, that, and the other thing. And so now, as they continually ask me to share my story, it makes it easier to possibly even get into details, or it doesn't make it as emotional, because at first it was this huge wound, and to speak about it brought you back to those deep emotions that you were currently feeling. And so now I have healed a little bit and able to speak about it. So it makes it so much easier to.
I've seen growth from when you did the workshop, the teal workshop at the retreat, when you took, I've seen growth. So I'm just amazed how far you've come. Wow, Karen, that's so awesome. So did you have a support network or team while you were going? You know, you had your husband. Did you have any other support? What was that like for you? What was having him around, or any other support?
It was super hard. My husband's family, they are always busy doing their own thing. So they didn't come to the hospital. They didn't come visit me. I think maybe we got a couple of phone calls, like from an uncle and an aunt, and they called my husband. But my parents, when they drove back down for Christmas, they were only staying until my birthday. We were going to go to Disney, and after we, got back from Disney, they were going to go back home. They were only coming for a couple of weeks. Well,
Right.
I ended up in the hospital and then diagnosed with cancer. And so they're like, well, I'm going to be spending all this time. And my husband still had to work.
Yeah.
So he was working as a police officer. Well, he's
Oh,
working
wow.
like 12-hour shifts. Well, how am I going to make it to my appointments? How am I going to do this? So my parents, I mean, I was so lucky. You know, they even
Wow.
joked around with their friends. They're like, so how long are you going for? And my dad, he's like, you know, I'm going to stay until June, until the weather clears up north, because they're in the upper peninsula of Michigan.
Wow.
So during the winter time, they get a lot of snow, some really
Right.
bad weather. And so sure enough, they actually ended up staying until June. And that was pretty much after all my surgeries. And we wouldn't have been able to done it, you know, without them. You know, my dad's sister, she had moved to Florida. So they were very helpful to come visit. And my brother came down from Michigan. But that was the only people that really came to see me in the hospital, or a couple of neighbors had brought over a couple of care packages, which was
Yeah.
so sweet. Brought me like some slippers and some candy and things like that. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, I got a
That's
couple
so
of
important.
cards. Yeah, I got a couple of cards here and there from some cousins and stuff. So
Yeah.
those types of things were just so sweet and special. Especially since they were up north, and they can't
Yeah.
just pop in to see how you're doing.
Yes, that is so amazing.
Yeah,
To have your parents there by your side, your husband there by your side, and
yeah,
whoever else is able to come. Some people don't know how to help, but
yes.
just it's I'm so glad that you had them there. Were you offer any programs or services to help you with your treatment process or the cost of your medical treatment?
No, we have military insurance, and they are pretty excellent. We had to pay our deductibles and stuff, which are thankfully not too huge.
Yeah.
But overall, they didn't offer anything. And then now that I volunteer, I realize when some of those social workers come into your room and they ask, are you okay? Do you need anything? And we're like, no, we got food, we got water, we don't need anything. But what they ask that straight question, but what they're really asking you is, after the fact, I know now that when I was coming out of the hospital and ending my treatment, my he was 17-year-old brother-in-law was going into the hospital with leukemia.
Wow.
So I was fine. So I'm like, when they ask you, and I had already volunteered for the cancer center and for the hospital's foundation, that when those social workers come in there, they mean, do you need anything? Do you need help paying a light bill? Do you need help paying a house bill or a car payment? Or do you need
Yes.
help paying your medical bills? They don't ask you those questions. They just ask you, are you okay? Do you need anything? And most people think the immediate, as of currently when those people walk in the room. No, my water cup is full. I have ice, or I'm okay, because at that moment, that's where you are. You're
Right.
not thinking about the other stuff. And they don't ask you directly, are you okay? Do you have trouble paying your bills, or anything like that? But now that I know, I inform everyone, if you need help, call the building department, let them know before you get a notice in the mail that you can't make that payment. You let them know. That's when I volunteer for the foundation and we do these fundraisers. That's what we're doing them for. People who don't
Yes.
have insurance, or people don't have enough insurance.
Right.
They still need help. Maybe even you're out of work and you need help making those co-payments.
Right.
They will help you with those. But a
That's
lot of
right.
people they're afraid to ask. You're just embarrassed that you might need help. And
Mhm.
you have to just take that step forward, and even ask a nurse, I'm really having trouble with this. Do you know of anywhere I can get help?
That's right. That's why with Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom, because of what I went through. I couldn't work, and I needed the money.
Right.
And there was somebody that helped pay my bills. The church helped pay my bills, and someone from a program from the hospital. And so we have the Keesha Bell Fund at Serenity Courage and Wisdom, where we, we're offering that service to help pay medical bills, to help with food, utility
Even
bills,
transportation. A lot of the
transportation,
you
right?
say food, and the thing that bothered me the most when I would go in for treatment, and we have a huge open floor with the treatment chairs along all the outside walls, and then a couple of ones coming out, so they made like these little bays, and each nurse would be assigned one of those sections. And I would come in, and you'd find these older people. They would always schedule their appointments during lunchtime, because that would be the only time that they would get fed. They would come in and they would get a sandwich because their appointment was during lunch, and they would have their spouse, and they'd have one ham and cheese sandwich with a bag of chips, and they would share half a sandwich with their spouse, because that's all they were going to get to eat that day, because all of their, I would say, retirement or social security was going to pay for their treatment. Yes. And whatever bills it was that they had. And so they were sharing a lunch, and that's sad. That really is.
Yeah. And it is sad that a lot of people are going through stuff like that. You talk about transportation. I remember getting radiation, because I had both chemo and radiation. And there was this lady. Here I am at my appointment for my radiation treatment, and I'm sitting there trying to help this lady get transportation back home, because she walked. Now, mind you, she was getting radiation to her head or face or something like that. And she walked and caught the bus in the hot sun in the summertime on her way. She had to travel to.
Were you in North Carolina then?
In North Carolina. This was 11 years ago. So, now there are more resources and things like that. American Cancer Society now offers transportation. Back then they did give the gas card, but this lady,
that's what our fundraiser does. That we when we do like designer purse bingos, or just fundraisers in general. We do a lot of gas cards, and that helps a lot. But some people can't afford their cars. Right. They get bus passes, but that's still hard. I mean, I can't imagine. You sit on the bus for 2 or 3 hours to get to your appointment.
Right. I was actually I was actually getting transportation from social services, and it was the actual company that was contracted. Their transportation was breaking down like every day, going and coming back. And so my pastor stopped by and was asking me how I was doing, and they set up a rotating schedule of people who would take me an hour to my appointment, stay with me all day, and then drive me an hour back home. It was
that's crazy, because I when I was going in, and so my chemo would start usually say 7 or 7:30 in the morning. I was always the first appointment, and because I would need I'd need like 2 or 3 bags of magnesium and 2 or 3 bags of potassium, and then each of my medications. Well, they can't run at the same time, and then the bag of fluids. So I'm there. I'm the first person to check in and the last person to check out throughout the day. And they've got my lab tests and everything else to do. And I ended up, between my treatments, would have to go in for bags of fluid because I was so sick and I couldn't keep anything down. So I would go in for treatment and fluid and blood and all that other kind of stuff. I was there 6 days a week sometimes. And though, I mean, it was like an additional extended family.
Right.
And like I knew all the people coming in that were actually going through treatment at the same time as me.
Yes.
So it was kind of crazy, because ladies, I was in the hospital at the same time with them having surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents, the lady's family was from Michigan, but in a similar area where my parents live in the Upper Peninsula. And it was funny because I think the gentleman had either a Michigan shirt on or a Michigan hat on. And of course, my parents, oh, you're from Michigan. Where are you from? And so they got chatting, and it was so fun. And then I met them. I met your parents in the elevator at the hospital when I was in for treatment. So they're like, oh, I remember you. I know, I'm sorry, I don't remember anything. Oh,
yeah, it's amazing the relationships that we have acquired, not just from retreats like how we met, but the hospital, the infusion lab, the freezing room, or whatever. Just sitting in the lobby waiting for appointments. So it's great that you talk to people, because some people don't talk. They just they don't want to talk. So what has life after cancer treatment been for you? I mean, you still going to get your checkup, but what has life after cancer per se been like for you?
Well, and I have tons of like digestive issues and things like that are that I work on and see other specialists and things for. As often as I can, I mean, other than this crazy COVID thing, would volunteer to help the Regional Cancer Center and the Hospitals Foundation with all the different fundraisers. We did, I think we were doing like 8 designer purse bingos like in the season. And it was almost maybe once a month during season. And that's like a lot. We ended up doing, like the silent auction. And there was me and like 2 or 3 other ladies that would put all the silent auction items together. We would get, they were usually around $350 a piece. And the most we would have the most for each event, we would end up having more than 30 items at each event. We do a fashion show for the cancer center, which is super fun. That's how I ended up getting involved. I was going through treatment and they were like, hey, do you want to be a model for the fashion show? I was like, oh my God, that sounds like fun. Sure. No problem. And they, oh my gosh, we want you to come help us out all the time. So they kind of like told me.
I love the
you're stuck with us. They said, you're stuck with us. So
I love it.
Yeah. So I try to help and give back.
So life after cancer, you mentioned you deal with the side effects, but that doesn't stop you from giving back to the cancer community. You're still actively involved with giving back. What do you wish they told you before, during, or after treatment?
Oh, goodness. The amount of time and dedication that it was going to take to do all of this. I didn't think that I'd meet so many great people along the way, whether it was my doctors or my nurses, just my nutritionist. And now every time that they see me, and it's funny too, because they know everything that I've been through, every surgery, even more than I do, because, they were reading it on paper and going through the details part of it. I was just showing up. But those relationships are absolutely amazing, and so thankful to have them even now, whether some of them are my friends on Facebook or a couple of the, support groups. Everybody's there. And it's great to know that, that you have additional support rather than your immediate family or friends or whatever.
Right. So sorry about that. So
that's okay.
So that connection that you've gained after being diagnosed, the connection that you've had with other people. I love how you mentioned the doctors and the nurses. They know everything about us. They know you know, like you said, some things that we may not even remember because it's all on paper. But
Yes.
you know, it's
And they
these
don't even tell
relations.
you everything either.
What?
It's that stuff that they know, but they don't tell you either. And I'm glad sometimes they don't tell you all 100% of everything. You know,
See, I'm nosy. I read my records.
I do. Well, you know what? And I know, which is so crazy. I mean, I took classes, you know, anatomy and physiology, and I was going to school for radiology. I took, you
Wow.
know, medical classes like in high school and stuff as well. So when I looked at my blood work and stuff, I knew how to read it. And so, but I would keep on top of everything. And I'm like, oh, hey, this is high, this is low, this is this. And they're like, oh, wow, okay. I'm like, I know
You
what
know
I'm
your
doing.
stuff. That's
But
good.
that's
And
really
I like
hard.
that. I like that because I think it's important that we stay on top of our stuff because
Yes.
we may catch something, you know,
That they weren't paying attention to, they maybe
yeah,
overlooked.
yeah,
And
it happens.
if I could suggest one thing, if anybody else is out there new getting diagnosed, I had a folder. And so I would keep, you know, they give you your checkout sheet at the end of whatever procedure you're having that day. And I would keep like my blood work. I'd keep that all together. And then, oh, hey, has it really drastically changed from this day to this day? And I kept them together. And that way you have that to refer to, because you're not going to remember anything with the medications that you're on, the Benadryl, maybe the anxiety medication or the pre-meds. You're not going to remember anything, or you're not going to remember much. I mean, the stuff that they gave me knocked me out for hours.
Right.
And it's really hard to keep track of that. And then like now we're a couple of years back and someone asks you a question and I'm like, oh, chemo brain. Like, I know I might have told you the last time I talked to you this, but you know, and I have a little, like, I went through my surgery and I had a little notepad and notepad on my phone, and I'd make little notes about how I was feeling, or I took pictures. So I logged it all like that way as well.
Yeah. That's really
funny.
good advice. Thank you for sharing that. I did have a notebook too. I think I have my calendar for like when I was going to have my treatments.
Yes.
You know, for my appointments and stuff like that. So that's really good information, y'all. Definitely keep a notebook, and even
or
journal.
your journal, the journal
Yeah.
in your book. That's
Yes.
very helpful. I mean, I wish I would have had it before I went through everything, which oh my gosh, that was so neat.
So you're talking about my book that I wrote, Love After Cancer.
Yes.
Okay, so we can go ahead and skip to that for a moment. So you had a chance to read Love After Cancer.
Yes.
Tell us what you thought about the book.
Oh man, yeah, and like reading it, I was like you were saying earlier, you know, reminiscing about the things that I had gone through, and I was like, I remember the feeling and everything as I was like reading what you're talking about. I was like, man. But that's so crazy though, like, because you know, you're moving cross country and you've got a young child to deal with. I mean, that's got to be so hard to have everything thrown at you, like, and it's so overwhelming. And like,
yes,
I mean, man,
it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you know, I think what makes it easier are what helped me, I think, the most were those people that you mentioned earlier, those nurses. One nurse told me, I'm going to be here with you along the way, even though she moved away.
Oh.
But you know, and my doctor, they made me feel comfortable. They made me feel safe. And
when you had your church people as well, you said.
Then church and the
That's
people
great.
who I just met, you know, I talk about it in the book. I just met these people, but they were there. And sometimes people just need to know that you're there, you know, just to know that even though you may not say anything, but just hearing, I'm here for you. I'm there.
It makes a huge difference. Yes, it totally makes a huge difference. Even just a phone call of, hi, hey, can I bring you? And it's not even, if you say to someone, you know, how can I help you? And they're gonna be like, oh no, I'm good, I'm fine. Like, can I bring you dinner? Or do you need, like, do you want someone to help come do laundry for you or come clean for you? You have to, if you ask a direct question, it's easier for someone to answer you. But if you, hey, that's, almost going back to the social worker as well. No, I'm fine. I'm good. I don't need anything. Because people, you don't want to feel, you don't want to impose on people. No, I'm really sick and I can't get out of bed. I do need help. A lot of people really struggle asking for help.
And sometimes
asking directly for help.
Right. And sometimes people don't know what to ask for. For me,
sure. Exactly.
It was like, I'm not thinking to ask you to come vacuum my floor. I'm not thinking to ask you to come wash my dishes.
Right.
I'm thinking like, what?
Right.
I don't know. You can't help me do anything. I'm stuck in bed. It's nothing that you could help me do. But I wasn't thinking about, hey, can you come help me with my 2-year-old who's very hyper and wanting to jump around? I wasn't thinking
and you're just coming out of surgery, so you've got like, and if you're like, you come out of surgery, you've got staples, you can't do the things that they just need someone to go outside and run around with them for an hour, and that
gets tears in my eyes. Because it was hard to see her, wanting more from me that I couldn't give to her. Because I had those staples and then I went right into treatment right after that. It's like, gosh. But
and you're exhausted and the medication makes you sleepy. That's so that's gotta be nauseous. And then at 2 years old, you don't understand. Yeah.
She used to stare at me.
They just want to lay in bed with you. Oh.
Yeah. She used to stare at me like, she didn't understand, like, mommy can't pick you up, mommy can't hold you. It's like I felt like I was neglecting my child. So
of course.
Yeah.
Karen,
I wasn't expecting that. But it's just the reality, even, I can't imagine being married. There are certain things that you might have been able to do before that you weren't able to do during treatment. It just changes the dynamics of relationships as a whole, regardless of who it is, your child, your spouse, your parents, your sister, brother, whatever, your best friend.
It made it even more difficult because my mom had like Alzheimer's and dementia. So we really, it was almost like we had to babysit her at times. And at the beginning, before I realized that I was sick with cancer, that it was kind of like, hey, let me take my mom to the grocery store. Let me take her shopping. Let's do this with her to at least give my dad a break. And so that's what we were doing at first. And then to turn around and it was like, Mom, I can't do that anymore. And she didn't understand. She would be like, well, why are you sick? Are you okay? She didn't understand why I was throwing up all the time or why I was sleeping all the time. It didn't, because she had the dementia. And then, I had the colostomy bag and she would poke at it. She's like, what is that? And I'm like, Mom, like, I just had surgery. And she didn't understand that, I had, like 100 staples in my belly. And why were you gone for a month? My longest stint in the hospital was 30 days. And so they would come to visit me in the hospital and her attention span was only good for about 15 or 20 minutes. But then my dad wanted to stay and, they would want to stay for longer. Well, why don't you take her out and go to the cafeteria or just go for a walk around somewhere, drive around the block or something. And that was super hard because she couldn't catch on. So similar to how your daughter was looking at you, can't figure out why you're the way that you are.
Yeah. Just clueless.
Yeah.
And that stare used to get me. It was like, man, because I couldn't read it. I don't know what they're thinking, what she was thinking. I couldn't imagine.
And then she can't verbalize it to you.
Right. Oof. So what message?
It's pretty much the same.
The same message.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay. What message would you like to share with the community or to women who are apprehensive about going to the doctor?
Man, it's not worth it. If 15 minutes of being uncomfortable, it's the pain and the suffering and the doctor's appointments and the medication and everything else that you've got to do. If you can just go once a year to get your checkups, and it's 15 minutes and maybe even less. It's a little discomfort for having to deal with all that other stuff of possibly cancer and chemo and the bills that can come along with that. I mean, I know a bunch of people that have gone bankrupt because of it, but if you can just do that 15 minutes of making your appointment, following up, making sure you are your own advocate. Yes. I had to be for myself. I knew something was wrong. I didn't take, the doctor wouldn't listen to me. And I was like, no, you're seeing me today. I don't feel well. I'm not taking no for an answer. And sometimes you have to be forward enough with them. So, they take you seriously. Yeah. Because they like to excuse it away. You even as a woman will, it's just my monthly regular bloating or things. We like to excuse that away because you never like to think the worst. Right. And
some people get scared and they just get paralyzed in that and just say, I'm not going to the doctor.
Because I don't want to know I don't want to know if it's something bad.
For people don't want to know. So what's one word, Karen, or one phrase that you would like to share to encourage women who are currently in treatment or who have faced roadblocks in their process?
Oh, here. Hope.
Oh, I love it.
Can you?
Yes, hope.
Yes, that. There's always, it's difficult to stay positive. Even though the doctor would put, like limitations, I need you to get out of bed and I want you to walk to the end of the room. And I'm like, well, no, I'm going to go around the corner. I always set my goals further than what they wanted me to do. And
love that.
Pushing yourself. I'm like, okay, if you're in the hospital and I was like, oh, hey, I kind of overdid it, or they'd have to, sometimes they even come chase me down. They're like, hey, you need to go sit back down because your heart rate is too high or this or that, but always, don't just lay there, keep trying to stay. I had an incision from top to bottom, and no, I'm going to do that little, 15 steps or whatever it is. Just keep pushing on.
I love that. Best of
your ability.
Yes. Sometimes it's just that little extra push to get you over the edge. And that could take you to a whole nother level of healing, another level of even recognizing your strength. So thank you for sharing that. That's powerful. So with Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom, we bring awareness through the creative arts. And I know that you share some. Hey, puppy. I know you share.
My husband has him in the other room trying to keep him quiet.
Yeah, that's okay. So I know you've shared with me about some of your creativity, your creative expression. We bring awareness and we want to encourage healing through the creative arts. So how do you express yourself creatively? Do you like to do any creative arts?
Oh, I do a ton. Well, when we went to Polly's Island and we did the ornament, we did angel ornaments and we did the different things with the glass. Yes. I love doing that kind of stuff. I do pour art. I do that. I build things. I'm like very artistic from when I was really little. Wow. I do like things in wood. Like my husband wanted a bar for the backyard. And so like I had a bunch of scrap stuff. And so I built like a bar outside and we put wheels on it so you can move it around outside. Yeah, like I've done all different kinds of things. I built like a bench for my backyard. Anything.
Wow.
I mean, I could really use some more tools so I could do a little more detail work that I would like to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to do all kinds of some wood burning or things like that too. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. That is so cool. I like to see women doing wood art,
Yeah.
woodwork. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know why. I mean, I always hear about men doing it, and I wanted to take that class when I was in middle school, but
Yes.
I studied photography.
Okay.
So I did the magnet program, so I couldn't take the elective classes. So I couldn't take woodwork. And
Okay.
I
I
hated
did take
that.
it in school and
You
it was
did?
one of my favorites. Yeah. We made
Yeah.
like the thing that was my favorite, we made like a stick to where you would push the oven rack in and then you had a little hook on it and you would pull the pull it out. So yeah, that was
Yeah.
yeah, we made I think
Wow.
a cutting board I think as well. So yeah, it was pretty good. I do photography. I love doing my puppy over there. He is a ham and he loves taking his picture. He's a he just turned 1. He's a golden retriever. So he is just absolutely hilarious and loves pictures. And he just stands there and he's like, "How about the hair? Is it this way?" Yeah, it's funny.
Oh, I love it. I'm gonna be looking for those pictures, Karen. So we did meet at the Till Diva retreat, and I normally do workshop at the retreat at different
Yeah.
retreats. I've done them not just for the Till Diva retreat, but for other retreats. And I would love to hear what your feedback is from doing the improv,
Oh, oh
workshop
my gosh,
part,
it
and
was so
then
fun. Oh my gosh, it was
yes. So
a
I want to
little
hear
nerve
about the
wracking.
workshop. I want to hear
Yeah.
about the workshop and then the process of the journal writing and then the
Okay.
presentations.
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy that you recorded them because I mean, to know that some of the ladies there are no longer with us and we have that as an amazing memory.
Yes.
It's oh so much fun. Meeting all the different people and different stages and but still being able to connect and have that similarity and also encourage each other in different ways. Hey, I've been through this, so at least you know what to expect maybe going into
Wow.
it or something. It was a little nerve-wracking getting up in front of what 20 or 30 people that you don't know and sharing personal information and things, even though you've gone through the same thing, it's personal, so that's
Yeah.
kind of hard. I mean, and like I being up in front of it, I have a little stage fright, so that's kind of difficult.
Yeah.
But yeah, being more on one is much easier.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot easier. But I mean, like you said, I think the more and more that you do it, the more comfortable you become with
Yeah.
not only sharing, but become more comfortable with who you are and owning
Sure.
it. I had that poem in my book called Own It because
Mm-hmm.
I had to understand that that's something that I've struggled with, just owning
Mm-hmm.
who I am and owning my truth. And I think as a speaker or even just sharing your story occasionally, owning your story is so
Mm-hmm.
powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me see. It was what one more thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and you're the first person that I've actually talked about this with Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
That was a prayer that I said a lot when I had cancer because I wanted to change my situation. I wanted to put my hands inside of me and snatch the cancer out and get rid of it.
Yes.
And I had to recognize, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to
Yeah.
accept the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference. And, I named my nonprofit that because I want people to remember serenity, courage, and wisdom. There's some things you can't change. There's some things you can, and know when, know the difference between those
Right.
things that you can and cannot change. Tell me what, from your experience with cancer, whether before, during, or after, you know, diagnosis, during your treatment and after. Um, Tell me, how could you apply serenity, courage, and wisdom, or how did you apply that? You know, did you recognize something that you couldn't change and you had like an epiphany and you focus, you know, shifting your focus? How could you apply that to your life?
That's been something that's been like really special to me from like a teenager. So like I use that all the time. A
Really?
friend, one of my like best friends from school, her mom took me to this group, and oh man, I was 16 maybe, and that was something. And you know, me like accepting the fact that I like, yes, you want to pretend like it's not real at the beginning, like no way, this can't be real, that this is not the truth. And
Right.
then I was getting my port placed, and I at that moment had to accept the fact that it was, this is the truth, there's no way that this is the truth, there's no way out of it. I just need to be positive and just stay, look forward. How are we going to move on to this? I can't change this. There's nothing I can do about it other than to stay positive, focus on getting better, focus on getting whatever it is that I need with treatment, or getting that stuff done. And that was hard, the
Yeah.
acceptance part of,
Mm.
I can't change this, but
Yes.
like, what can I do?
Right. So
That
this
was
is the
hard.
last thing that is hard. And I thank you for mentioning that, because that's something that there are women who are watching this, and maybe even some men as well,
Mm-hmm.
who have trouble with that acceptance of, there are some things I can change and some things I can't, but I can focus on those things that I can.
Yes.
So with the last thing that I want to share with you, I mean, that I would like for you to share with us, is how to, uh, one of our campaigns for next year that we're going to drive home. We talk about it now, but we're going to talk about it a lot more in 2021. And that's, how do you speak against cancer? Like, we have this bracelet that I'm wearing right now. It says, I speak against cancer on one side. And so, can you tell us, how do you speak against cancer? If someone were to ask you that, which I am, how do you speak against cancer, Karen?
Well, with my volunteering and stuff, I mean, we try to bring awareness everywhere. I take the different flyers, whether it's handing them out at the cancer center or any of our local medical facilities that will allow us to, the signs and symptoms of ovarian cancer. We do October for breast cancer awareness. They focus on many other ones, whether it's a colorectal or lung cancer. We have separate months for each of the different cancers. So we try and get the community involved as well. They have some special classes that they do. I think it's like a Zoom type thing, maybe even support group. I wish they had more for caretakers. We don't have enough, and they get left out a lot. I really wish we had more for them. They take you to your appointments and they wait for you,
Right.
and they do everything, but they go through turmoil because they feel helpless. They just you're the one going through treatment, but they have to just sit there and watch, and
Right.
they really need support as well. And I really wish we had more for that.
That's good. That's good. So you're speaking against cancer by sharing your story. You're
Yes.
like tonight, um, and you're getting involved in the cancer community and making a difference and helping to change people's lives. So thank you
Trying to
so
get the
much.
word out in the community too,
Yes.
with the flyers and like Facebook, we share some of the stuff through the foundation or the cancer center, that way as well. So
Wow.
hopefully more people will understand what signs and symptoms are, what to look for, and be their own advocate. And don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to
Yes.
question
Yes.
your doctor. They might have a medical degree, but you only know your body. You know what's normal for you. Don't let them convince you otherwise, that what you're feeling is not normal, or it is normal, or what this is not normal for me.
Yes.
These are problems. And if they don't give you the right answer, find someone else.
Yes.
I understand that, co-pays can be difficult, but if you're not getting the answers that you need, you really need to, find someone who's going to listen to you.
Yes. And this is how you can speak against cancer, by letting people know, hey, these are things that you can do to advocate for yourself. This is what you can do to, get the word out. So there's so much in the cancer community that's still not, that has not been accomplished yet. And you might be that voice. You might be the person that can make that breakthrough. And like Karen has mentioned, within the gynecologic cancer community, there's so much that has not been said. Symptoms need to be shared much more. And you're going to hear more from Serenity, Courage, and Wisdom, especially within this new year. We are so excited about what we have in store for you. So as I said before, please make sure you continue to follow us on this the Survivor series that we're doing with interviews with Keesha Carter. Visit our website so you can stay up to date. Join, follow us, like us, and on our website you can even join our email, subscribe to our email list. Guys, there's so many people who want to know more. And by you sharing on your page, by you sharing on social media, you might be saving someone's life. You might be helping someone get through, as Karen mentioned, helping someone get through their process. So thank you so much, Karen, again, for sharing your story. Phenomenal. I learned so much about you tonight. And oh my gosh, I'm really hopeful. And as you have in the back of your head, hope, I'm really hopeful for what is to come within the gynecologic cancer community, and the breakthroughs that we're going to have in the coming years for research and, to help save lives because of people like you. So thank you. All right,
thank you.
You're welcome. So this is another Interviews with Keesha Carter Survivor Story series. And I have with me Karen Diaz. Oh my gosh. You all make sure that you tune in. When you see those ads, share them, like them. And I hope that you will stand by for January and look out for all of the posts that we have coming up, because it's Cervical Cancer Awareness Month. Cervical Cancer Awareness Month is January, okay? So make sure you share, check us out, because we're going to be talking a lot about the human papillomavirus, cervical cancer, and I look forward to seeing you on with me, Interviews with Keesha Carter. So if you are a cervical cancer survivor and want to share your story, hit us up, send me an inbox, hit us up on our website, contact us, let us know that you're interested, because you can be just like Karen here, sharing your story, making a difference in helping to bring awareness and bringing insight to people who are actually going through treatment right now, who want to get answers. So thank you for following us. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful day. If you're watching the recording, make sure that you comment in the comment section. Let us know what you all think about these interviews. All right. Love you. Have a wonderful day, night. Until next time. Bye.